Hello, and welcome to the Back to the TARDIS podcast, the podcast where we take a look at every single episode of the 2005 revival of BBC's Doctor Who. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Aurora.
And I'm Apollo, probably.
And this week we are discussing Series 8, Episode 3, Robot of Sherwood by Mark Gatiss. I'm not even going to lie, this episode fucks. This one's fun.
Yeah, I said I was saying to a friend earlier that this is our fourth time watching this episode. It's an episode we've watched several times for some reason. And the first time we watched it when it came out, we were like, this is great, it fucks. A bit later we were like, psh, that episode totally sucked. And then we rewatched again a few years ago and we were like, wait a second, this actually kind of fucks. And then I was unsure whether we would swing back or keep with that this time. And then within a few minutes, I was like, okay, no, this is amazing.
Yeah.
It's just a fun banter episode.
Seriously.
I was trying to realize why this felt so good to watch. And it was I basically came to the conclusion that this is if you took Mark Gatiss took sort of the camp that he would employ with RTD and finally encapsulated it. And with 12, I think it works better than with 11. This just feels spiritually in a lot of ways Unquiet Dead, but so much more fun and better.
Yeah. It's not, I don't think it's as good as Crimson Horror, but it is still really solid.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because this is by far the best 12th Doctor episode that he's going to write, because the next one that he writes fucking is a piece of shit. And then the other one's just kind of okay. But at least we got this one.
Yeah. I really this feels like such a great early 12 episode because he's such a dick in it.
Yeah. This is the episode where Clara holds the shared brain cell.
This is literally just the Doctor is wrong the episode.
Yeah, basically.
He's a curmudgeon and he's a stick in the mud, and that provides great character dynamics. It's it's not quite this, but I compare it to in Star Trek The Next Generation, Captain Picard before he removes the stick up his ass. It's just a great dynamic. It's always fun when it's a good actor doing it.
So it's is this the Doctor Who equivalent of a Q episode?
Kind of. In terms of the Robin, in terms of what Robin and 12 serve as a foil to each other, basically, yes.
Fair enough. So yeah, the entire gist of this episode can be just traced back to Clara wants to go see Robin Hood, and the Doctor doesn't think that Robin Hood is a real person.
And when confronted with the physical evidence of Robin Hood, continues to deny it.
Yes.
r/Reddit atheist moment.
Yeah, no, he's going to the Twitter school of discourse.
I love the Doctor in this episode. He's so just single-mindedly focused, and this episode starts off so strong because it's he walks out of the TARDIS, he's like, Robin Hood isn't real, and the arrow hits the TARDIS.
Yeah.
And just from the first
moment.
Yeah, as soon as they start talking to each other, it's oh my god, this is amazing, because they have such a good dynamic together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there was a point in time where I would have been I am the Doctor and this is my spoon. I would have thought that was mega cringe. And now as a tired 20-year-old, I just don't have the energy to fight it anymore and just admit that yeah, no, this is great.
We all have cringe inside of us, ladies and gents, and
growing up is just learning to accept the cringe.
Yeah, I feel like around 16 or 17 we were like, Psh, this episode is cringe. And then, you know, we once we got to like 18, we were like, actually this fucks.
Yeah.
There's just so many great lines in it, just like the pure camp of the spoon is just so good.
Yeah.
Especially because it's like a thing that comes into play later. Just the sword fight scene and just Clara watching them like, damn, they're really doing this, huh?
It's at this point.
Yeah.
It's at this point that I remembered. Like we see Robin Hood sort of like wins the duel, like in an underhanded way, but very Robin Hood. Lots of laughing. He like he stabs like a button off the shirt of 12, and I remember, holy shit, yeah, he starts getting costume variants like in the third episode right now, and that's as weird as it sounds. It's one of the things I like about 12 is that he feels like a real person that doesn't wear the same two fucking outfits for every story.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, he has a wardrobe, and that I think Peter Capaldi's even talked about, like, yeah, he wanted a range of what 12 would wear so you could cosplay him more easily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I really like. I remember being in like middle school and being like, yeah, 12 style fucks, just because like
Yeah.
he switches it up, but he keeps it consistent at the same time, and he's got that
absolutely.
drip, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really think that the fight on a log sets the tone for the whole episode, because it's just like, yeah, these two are just gonna be having like spats for the whole thing and just fucking each other over. Because like literally it just ends with them both soaking wet, having accomplished nothing.
Yeah. I feel like this episode really gets to a point where it's like, wow, if this went on for too much longer, the hate fucking would probably commence.
Yeah. I feel like if this episode came out today, especially with a scene we'll get to later, it would have been canceled by like reactionary YouTube for like, I don't know, like a commentary on like masculinity or something. I just feel like that would happen.
Man, this kind of thing makes me realize that like, oh wait, RTD2 is going to be a shit show. Like
Probably in a better way, but 100%, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be quite the same problem of people being like, nah, it's fine that Doctor Who just became incredibly mid. It's fine. And I mean, yes, it is fine. Because, you know, that's what happens with shows. But, like, you get what I mean.
I missed what your initial point was.
My initial point was that RTD2 is going to be a shit show.
Why do you think that?
Just because of the way that the internet has evolved since the last time around.
Yeah, since he's going to be putting actually subversive, like, political messaging in it, hopefully.
Oh,
instead
you mean
of
like
Chibnall's, like, mealy-mouth neo-lib bullshit that got fascists upset. Like, if that's at the level we're at, the internet's going to be fucked.
Oh, okay, I get what you mean now. I thought you meant like it was going to be bad. Like the show itself is going to be bad.
No. I don't think RTD2, at least I hope RTD2 isn't bad. No, I'm talking about in the same way that like fandom Discord, like I'm going to be real. I don't like I do not like Chibnall Who, but I think the discourse around Chibnall Who, even from people who don't like it, is fucking insufferable at points. So,
yeah,
that's where I was going with that.
Gotcha.
Anyways, so yeah, it's I will say, I think it's probably to the it's probably to its benefit that like it doesn't really try to make any of the other Robin Hood characters really matter.
Yeah, I think it would have suffered for it. I think it's good to
Yeah.
just have them sort of be like one-dimensional, quirky guys, and just
Yeah.
put the focus on Robin Hood, because I feel like he's a really interesting character in this episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, I want to backtrack actually to the line that he says, the line that he says right at the beginning of for Robin Hood, all property is theft, and I was like, oh, based.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
They're just in their
Wow, they actually went there.
they're just in their anarcho and commune. They're all hedonist. They don't care for their material conditions. They're just gonna, make merriment to themselves.
Wait, actually, is Robin Hood and his merry men in Sherwood Forest just actually an Ancom commune? I feel like that's actually just what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know in the actual literature or text or whatever, but basically,
yeah.
I mean, because I don't know for certain about like the periodicity, but I know in the late Middle Ages he sort of blends into that tradition of peasant movements and heretical movements in the late Middle Ages that were very anti all types of authority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I'm just thinking, if this story had decided to go with the idea that Robin Hood was a robot, what if he just stays around, gets really old, and then he just turns out to be Karl Marx? This is why I don't write Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I should never be allowed near the writer's room.
I'd like to take a quick moment to highlight the one of the lines when he's meeting all of the merry men, and the doctor's just jabs one with the needles, blood analysis, ooh, all those diseases, if you were real you'd be dead in 6 months, and he's like, wait, I am real. The doctor's like, all right, bye.
It's so good. It's just such a moment that really captures what an absolute dick the doctor is at this point.
Yeah.
I just love, he has such good dialogue in this episode. It's really good. There's another line a bit after that with Clara where he's like, why is it okay, I think it goes where are we again? Nottingham. And he's like, what time of year is it? And he's like, oh, it's the fall. And he's like, why is it so sunny and green? And Clara's like, climate change? And he's like, it's 1190.
and him very much being, it's really funny. I'm going to get a little yet you participate in society, I'm very intelligent here, but I think it's very funny how much he's like, no bantering, I am against bantering, despite the fact that he himself is bantering for most of the episode.
Yeah. Also, later the explanation given for why it's sunny is that radiation was leaking out, and I'm not sure about that explanation.
That's not how that works.
Yeah.
That's very Star Trek science. That's such a Star Trek science moment.
Yeah.
It's you're telling me there's lots of foliage because radiation is leaking. I feel like it should do the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Chernobyl just looks like, the Amazon rainforest right now.
Yeah. So yeah, they, and it gives the episode an excuse to do some of the silly Robin Hood stuff, like the archery tournament. Where it reaches comedy proportions of one-upmanship.
It's good that they did this story with 12, because
Yeah.
if 11 was doing all the petty bullshit that 12 does, especially in the archery competition and later in the dungeon, it's like that would be such like wife guy energy.
It would be out of character. It would be out of character.
Yeah, but with 12
he'd be
it's
like,
just...
"Ooh, cool, Robin Hood. Ooh, ooh, I'm British."
Yeah. Great accent,
Sorry,
Geoff.
Sorry, Emma.
You're nailing it.
Yeah, not to be ageist or anything. It's just like clearly they were going for a different dynamic, and that it's just so refreshing in what new stories you can tell. Because this wouldn't be nearly as entertaining if the Doctor wasn't as combative as he is in this point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think this is an episode that's like the first two episodes were really good, but I feel like this is the first one where like the fact that this is 12 and not one of the other Doctors is like central to what makes the episode work.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a really good episode for just showing off 12 as a character. And you start to build up that sense of like, oh, he's not just like flighty. He's like genuinely really immature despite him looking older. It's great.
Yeah. So yeah, it just escalates until the point where he just fucking blows up the target with the sonic screwdriver and is like, all right, let's just get it out of here. Come on, let's move on.
And then we get very forgettable robot designs.
Yeah. Half the time I forget like those robots are even in the like I legitimately sat down and was watching this episode and realized that even though I'd seen this episode like I don't know, less than a year ago, I completely forgot what like the monster enemies like looked like. I realized like oh I literally can't remember.
You know, isn't it just basic common sense robot design for there to be like laser crosses on your face?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It looks cool at least.
Yeah. I think it's okay for the robots themselves to be like completely forgettable. I don't think they really matter that much to the story.
Oh no, yeah, it's not important at all. It's just like yeah, this is Doctor Who.
So yeah, they all get locked up, and the Doctor and Robin Hood proceed to give Clara a migraine.
I love how they get like once they're pent up together, they get like twice as petty.
Yeah. Absolutely. To the point where it's like they cannot resist at constantly attempting to one-up each other, even when it literally fucks them over.
Yeah. Like they're literally trapped and they're like trying to come up with a plan and they can't decide who to be the decoy.
Yeah.
And then just like the Clara's like fed up mom energy is so good here. And she's just like, okay, shut up, both of you. What's the plan? And then she's like, Robin first. And he's just like, I am biding my time. And then she goes to the Doctor and she's like, all right, Doctor, what's your plan? And he starts talking. She's like, remember, it can't include the words sonic screwdriver because you do not have it right now. And he just goes quiet.
and then he they end up like fucking dropping the keys down the drain when they actually do manage to get the guard in the room.
Ah, so good. This is an episode where Clara does everything.
Yeah, as I said, this is an episode where Clara has the sole brain cell.
I think, is this the first episode where a companion does like everything?
No, because we've had Dr. Light episodes before.
Or like just in the sense of like the Doctor is being incompetent and the companion is the one leading the way. I'm trying to think if there's been any others like that before.
Thematically, there's some, like, you could argue that like the main like thematic and narrative weight behind like Dalek, for example, falls behind Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or like Donna in the Fires of Pompeii.
Yeah.
That there's some key element that hell, last episode where Clara was just like, what have we actually learned?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely ends up being much more of a recurring thing in this first season with 12, I think.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely a much bigger emphasis on it, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the Doctor continues to be operating under his theory that everybody's robots. To the point where it actually like literally like it gets to the point where they are able to get the drop on him because he's constantly like, yeah, no, you guys are all robots and working together. And I love how he overthinks it too, because he's literally like, there's literally a point where the Sheriff of Nottingham is like, why would we make
our own enemy?
Yeah, just to, yeah. And he's like, wait.
And it's just really interesting because he sticks with his story for so long. Like, he refuses to accept that Robin Hood might be real, even when it's like blatantly obvious that he probably is. Yeah. His ego gets in the way.
He doesn't give it up until like 35 minutes in. Like, it's insane. I think it's kind of silly that their way to defeat the robots is just to fucking reflect their fucking bolts back at them. It's like, all right. It's silly Doctor Who shit, you know. So yeah, it's revealed. I do like that, like, it is one of those alien plots where it's like, oh wait, no, their plan isn't even going to work. So it's not even like, will they succeed? It's oh no, they're going to fail, and that's going to be a problem.
I think incompetent robots is a great thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, if you I guess you can't categorize Into the Dalek as incompetent robots, but 2 out of 3 episodes this season have been involving incompetent robots.
Nice.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
And I really like that literally the crux of the thing in the end is like, we need to help them succeed just enough that it won't be a problem.
Yeah. Exactly. I
really like the exchange between Clara and the Sheriff is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she's busting out like her doctor training in that moment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, you could argue this is where her like doctor arc starts.
Yeah.
There's a few
No,
areas you could
I
argue
think it
that.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, gets wrapped up pretty cleanly. I do like. I also it's kind of a it feels like it's kind of a relatively small theme, but I do like the idea of it basically a theme of legends coming from real people and living on even long after the real person has gone, and the way in which that's implemented here, where I think what he says, history is a burden, stories can make us fly.
That's a good line.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only really, it's not even a criticism, but it's like a way this episode could be better is that the narrative is just kind of there. You basically have the premise, Doctor Who, what if Robin Hood? And that's the episode.
Yeah.
You don't really, like, the side characters are all serviceable. The sheriff is okay. You know, he's not bad. The interaction with Clara is probably his best moment in the episode. You have this weird, like, sort of angsty part of Robin Hood with, like, Maid Marian that
Yeah.
is sort of a neat dimension to the character, but also doesn't really get explored enough, at least for, like, my taste. And then there's sort of, like, a scene at the end after everything's been wrapped up where it's like, okay, it's time for Robin Hood and the Doctor to discuss what they've learned, and that's your book report, and that's your theme. It's kind of like they forgot to do all the groundwork throughout, so they're just like, okay, what have we learned, class? And again, it's not delivered bad. Like, as I just said, with that history can be a burden, stories can make us fly. Like, it's not a bad scene. Nothing is exactly, like, done badly. It's just like, you can tell that their focus was primarily on, or you can tell Mark Gatiss' function was primarily on the like camp and the fun, and, you know, exploring this new Doctor in a situation that he reacts very differently to than, say, like 10 or 11 would, which is fine. It's just, yeah, I don't know, rant over. It's something I've noticed.
Yeah. I can definitely see that. It is kind of 45-minute syndrome, honestly.
Yeah.
It's, you know, you do the best with what you got.
I also think this may not have impacted that much, but I remember that some of this episode had to be rewritten or at least reshot because there was, like, some terror attack in Europe / in England. I get the history wrong.
Would that have been the... Wait, 20... Would that... No, that wouldn't have been France. Hold on.
It had something to do with a beheading, because originally, apparently, the sheriff got beheaded, and it was revealed, like, you saw the circuitry inside him, that he had turned himself into a robot. And that, you know, could have, I don't know, like, added some more mystery to whether, like, Robin and the rest of them were really, like, real or not, and it... But then the BBC, or I guess the writers, thought that would be too insensitive considering, like, events, so they, like, reworked it. I don't know how much that could have possibly affected. Maybe literally just that one scene, but it does seem like when you're rearranging stuff that fast, some stuff is, like, obviously going to get lost.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a miracle the episode works as well as it functionally does. Yeah.
That being said, what was I gonna say? Oh, yeah. So I have the way his death scene ended up happening, however, gave me the inspiration for the first episode announcement meme in forever. that only me and Elise will think is funny, but
Hey, gotta cater to our audience, you know.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, that's about it for me on this one. It's a good fun episode. It's a good fun episode. It's fun.
Very nice.
Yeah. No more thoughts. I think. No.
Head empty.
No more thoughts.
Yeah. Head empty, very tired. Anyways, yeah. It's a good episode. I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's got the banter. It is a fun, lighthearted romp, but sometimes, you know, that's what you want. I feel like if we could have fun, lighthearted romp episodes with this caliber of banter, I'd be complaining about the current show a lot less. But you know, to have good banter, you kind of have to have good characters. So you know, yeah, it's a solid. I'd say it's a solid like A-.
Yeah. The this is a weird episode to talk about. It's an episode of Doctor Who, but more in the good way. It's Mark Gatiss kind of bringing that RTD era like level camp, in a way that I don't think we've really seen since the RTD era for a Doctor. For a new Doctor that I think works with that sort of shtick better than the former. Not the least of which is because there's zero horny in this episode. At least zero horny that annoys me, which is good. Yeah, narrative could have been, I don't know, a little bit more interesting or there, but it's not really a detraction from the episode, more like something that could have made it even better. Yeah, it's a solid 8. Solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah, it's just a really fun episode. It's just very... The writing is just super solid for the dialogue. I think it's really just a standout filler episode. I mean, I know it's tied into like the season plot in the same way all episodes are, but like it doesn't significantly progress anything between like the Doctor and Clara. So like, yeah, it's a really good filler episode, and I think it accomplishes that well. It gets in. It's like, hey, here's a quirky concept, and then it plays with that for 45 minutes, and it's like, all right, we did it, and it's just a really enjoyable watch. So yeah, I would say I would agree, 8 out of 10. Woo!
Yeah. All right. So next week, we shall be discussing Series 8, Episode 4, Listen. Until then, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at B2TARDISPod. You can support us on Patreon for a number of benefits, such as early access to episodes, the ability to listen in live to episodes being recorded, and potentially even the ability to guest star upon an episode of your choosing. I'm Jeff. You can follow me on Twitter at WheatleyDL.
I am Based. You should follow us on Twitter at Of Mice and Femmes.
I am plugging an aux cord into my urethra and blasting Weezer.
Okay. We will see you all next week.
Bye.